The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay. Good day to you who are out there. This is Del Stortron. I am the Chief Facilities Engineer for United Layer. And I would like to present to you an insight into our industry. Hopefully that the questions that you will have can be answered. We may make up a few questions of our own in order to give you some points of view from what it is that we deliver to our customers. A data center, just to start with, is a collection place for individuals, companies who need to have their servers and processes close to the internet itself. It's a choice that you make at a certain point in your business cycle that allows you to step up, so to speak, into a new realm. The data center itself, pardon me, the data center itself is a cool, calm environment. It is meant to be a place where that you feel safe and secure, that your equipment itself will be constantly powered and kept under controlled circumstances, and has an awful lot of security involved. The data center is also meant to be your real place of business, even if you're not present, that your machinery and the programs that you run on them are operating correctly and to spec. A data center operator like ourselves, United Layer here in San Francisco and in LA and in sites around the country, are a cache of your information and your processes. And we set those things up for you. We have a great degree of competency in all the various facets of data center, which includes interconnection to the fiber networks of the world, and within the data center itself to the mechanical systems and electrical systems that keep you up and running. That is my job. The reason I'm speaking to you is because I have some expertise in that. Let me introduce myself a little bit. Again, my name is Del Stortrone. I am over 35 years now an electrical contractor in California and have worked on industrial commercial systems for most of that time. I became interested in the data center world as a result of having did some work to install in data centers, and it became a passion to be involved in it. I find that the work is rewarding and it's interesting, and it provides a background facility for our new age of information. I have a lot of information that I have within me as far as my background is concerned to bring to this operation, and I guess we can get into some of those things as to how it relates to how you would be using our facilities. Again, as we discussed about a data center originally, it is a place that you will feel secure with your equipment and your processes so that they can operate without a hitch. And you know what I mean. If you have any equipment in your own space now, you might have a problem with heat. You might have a problem with electrical not staying alive all the time. You might have a problem with your, your connection to the nets not maintaining themselves. So these are the things that you can essentially purchase or rent from us. That's what we are in the business to provide from an expert point of view. There's no guesswork. We have been at this, and my colleagues have been at this for a number of years. In our spaces, typically they are quite large, quite secure buildings that have excess of many megawatts of power that come into them through diverse means. That allows that there would be the greatest chance of there being the circuits up and live at all times. If for some reason there is some outside interruption in power, a data center also has many backup systems. First of all, there's a continuity system called UPSs. Those UPSs are very large, not the kind that you have under your desk, but rather run whole data centers in themselves. And typically they're arranged as two different diverse pathways to get out to your server. And typically that's been designated as A and B. Different data centers do it differently, and some of them all use the same language, but a diverse power method means that there are two independent supplies. And if should one go down, the other one can certainly handle the power load that is required. It does start at the customer level. We encourage our customers to have dual-corded servers and switches and other devices so that the power supplies within them, meaning that there are two power supplies, can either supply the entire load required. Beyond that, we also back up that server cabinet or rack or managed server or cloud, even as an offering that we have, are all backed up by diverse power supplies, so that when it comes to that server cabinet or server process, it has redundancy. And redundancy is a method by which you ensure that the power will always be on. Redundancy is one of the biggest, probably, advantages of being at a data center. I would expect that anybody who has had single-line power failures out in their world know the disruption that happens in small offices and even large that don't have redundant power. So I would say the main advantage of being in a data center is the complex electrical systems that are in place in order to do that. I can show you what one of them looks like. Let's see if we can get a view on the screen for you. Here we go. This would be a what a large data center would carry. This is happens to be a series of parallel UPSs, and what happens here is that should any one of these modules not be operational, the other two can pick up the load independently and carry it. Let me see if I can show you another one. In other words, continuous power will be brought out to your servers. Here is another version. This has a lot of batteries, and these 3 battery cases that are attached to the actual UPS ensure that there's plenty of backup DC power, which is then translated to AC power to go out to your servers. You'll notice here that there's a raised floor environment in this data center. That's not in every data center, but in many of them it is, and the subfloor space is used for routing of cold air. You'll see a few vents right here in front of the actual UPS, so the UPS, of course, has conditioned air to keep it running effectively as well. And let me show you what else that's supplied from in a typical data center. There are what we call CRAC units. These are computer room air conditioning units, and this happens to be a very serviceable, a little bit older, but it's a Liebert model, Series 3. This one runs at 20 tons. There are probably, in this facility, I think there are 6 of them, so there are 120 tons. In this particular facility, there may be as many as 15 in other ones. Let's see, we'll go back to another one. We also like to distribute the air from under the floor. In case we have higher loads, we can distribute that by using in-the-floor fans. Now, this is a small picture. Let me get a little zoom on it. This will show you what that looks like. These are actually laying in the floor, and they will throw some air up towards your cabinets and a variable and projected needs by need. So we can look at a basic airflow model that a data center provides. Here's one on your screen now. You'll notice that the subfloor area is carrying the cold air, cooler air, from the CRAC unit on the left, and it carries it under the floor, and that it is up through tiles that are in the floor and into these cabinets. That's where your servers would be, is inside these enclosed cabinets. The hot air, that's these red areas in the back, have the exits of that hot air. And this is a collection pipe, and then that hot air is then rerouted by some means back down to the CRAC. So it's a closed cycle. The CRAC itself takes the hot air and puts it into either chilled water or a glycol water mix, or even just free air, and then it is distributed outside, typically in a data center. There are other means by doing so, in very, very modern methods that use a form of geothermal, but that's not what we're doing here. So let me go back to a standard data center. Has a row arrangement. This is something that we do inside our data centers. We use a hot and cold row arrangement. What this does is that in our cold rows or hot rows, we are collecting the air so that it is better able to serve the various data cabinets that we have. This is a medium facility. This is about a 90 cabinet facility that we use this in, and it eventually will cut the bill and by at least 1/3, and it will qualify us for various green credits. Sometimes I think what I should do is that I should also explain that there are a variety of ways in which we achieve these various things. Here's another way. This is under the floor. This happens to be damming that's done underneath that raised floor. And it's a method by which we can route the air around. This is a technique, again, for savings, and it's tuning of our facilities. We do try to get everything tuned up properly so that it will be the most efficient facility that we can make it. Data centers, as a note, are very, very large consumers of electricity in the world. In the U.S., it's projected that data centers are using approximately 2% of our power supply at this time. This is larger than the airline industry, for instance. And so it behooves us to do everything that we can within our facilities to be as green as possible. We like to advertise when we do these projects. There are not as many data centers that are actually doing green. The ones that do, of course, make a big noise about it, and they should. And I personally believe that we should all do what we can to be greener. It's good for everything, not just the environment, but also our own pocketbooks. There is some chiming going on. What is that in the background? We have various secure, not just security, but we have various systems which make sure that the fire will be suppressed. There's a fire suppression system. This is happens to be a Fenwal dust system. This will evacuate the air, oxygen out of the air in an instant. These are loaded under 100,000 pounds of pressure and will immediately, be blown into the room and quell any fire. Let's see if it actually goes off. There are various controls that you have as something that as you need to leave the room, you need to tell everybody that there's a problem. Then, of course, there are switches on the walls at the entry and exit points of any data center. If you look at another model of what we're trying to do, you'll notice that all of these air systems are closed cycle systems. We can treat the air, and we can actually even expel the air to the outside. Heat naturally rises, so we find that the hot air funnels will be at the tops of data centers, and the cold air is actually quite dense, and so it stays near the bottom. So a cycle has to be set up, and we actually use the server's fans as the metering agent for metering cooler air into themselves, and they'll stay there for a little while it gathers some heat, and then it is dispersed in a hotter air and sent through the cycle. So the second thing that data centers give you, aside from power and power redundancy as a safety method, is that the units themselves, heat load also has to be handled. These are pretty enclosed rooms, and so they don't have a natural connection to the outside, and therefore the heat itself must be dispersed outside typically. And so these systems are also run in redundant fashion as well. The typical way that that's done is that there's more than one unit for the actual need of the load. And we call these N or N plus, or N plus 1, N plus 2, meaning the total number of units needed, that's the N, to do a certain job, and then plus how many of the units required to make sure that there's redundancy. And so we typically operate our facilities at N plus 1 and occasionally at N plus 2, depending upon the total number of units that we'll need to satisfy the job at hand. And that would be for both power and for cooling. Your server looks a little like this to us. This is the back end of it, and we'll have maybe fiber channel or a copper connection to it that runs out into our diverse networks. I can show you another picture of a loaded up rack. Let me see if I've got one right here. Oh dear. Here we go. Eventually you'll have your own stack of gear and humming away within one of our facilities. Now, to get you to our facility, we need to talk a little bit about why, or what examples of people that are actually trying to come to a facility like ours. We operate what's called retail colo, and United Layer is in the business of getting small businesses to become big businesses. And it's a certain level of proficiency that you have gotten to need a single managed server to a rack full of them, and either managed by us or by yourselves. And we provide all examples. And now, of course, the newest thing is to be in a cloud, which is essentially it's a diverse means of having managed servers. And we do all of these things. We use virtual clouds, we do managed co-location, we do all of the various flavors that there are of services that a co-location facility can provide. Since we have top to bottom, we're not dependent upon others in the vertical arrangement as far as management is concerned. So we offer all of those things through our company. I can give you an example of how a company ends up migrating from their own offices, their own small business concerns, or just their small need to begin with to a larger need, and therefore a potential of coming to a co-location facility. You know, that a company might be, we'll say, a diverse architectural firm, one of which I'm thinking of is an international firm. They have offices in Tokyo, Singapore, Laguna Beach, California, Tiburon, and they use one of the local offices, the field offices, their first office, as their main hub for many, many large files that they obviously have to use in architecture. And they were attempting to use T1 lines in order to transfer these files around, and it's a telephone network, so to speak, to get them around. Well, of course, that gets pretty jammed up after a time, and managing that kind of data flow becomes worse and worse. And the availability of larger circuits is not always there from an office location. You may ask your provider to give you something other than T1 and not be able to get it. When you come to a data center, of course, you have access to very, very large and diverse networks. You don't have a single provider. We have, for instance, well over 70 individual providers in our building, and not typical of all data centers, but this happens to be in one data center that we are in San Francisco. It happens to be a very diversely fed building from all the various providers. And so you can get on any network for transport that you choose. Obviously, if you file serve from a co-located facility, that file serving will be better served to all of the hubs, from the hub location to all of your various outbound locations. And of course, it solves real problems as far as transport and large file size transfer. Another of the reasons that you may come is because you need speed. When you're very close to a network, your latencies are, of course, completely cut to potentially to zero, depending upon who it is that you need to get connected to. And we have certainly got customers that are within our data centers who connect to other customers in our own data centers. And so that diversity then it becomes a way by which the latencies can be kept down to nearly zero. So that's another of the interesting side effects of being in a data center, is that you, of course, have some access to different markets and marketplaces through the other providers that are already here. It's a very large marketplace. And so you've arrived. If you get to a data center, you have become you know, a bit of a larger company and in footprint in the world. And you certainly have access to a much better traffic. You've gotten to the bigger street, and you have better traffic flow past your business, one way or the other. Now, I think I'm supposed to give some time over to questions. And how would you like me to run that?
You should open it up for questions. One question that I have is, why should, you know, how about the expenses of being a colo? Is it expensive, or, you know, what are the costs of being a colo? Small businesses might not think that it's
affordable.
Affordable, that's right.
I think that basic expenses of a co-location facility for a business can be much less on a monthly, yearly basis than you would pay for an assistant in your IT department. I think that alone can tell you that you know, it's not only affordable, but it is a very, very wise move to make. Another way to judge that is that you're about to make some changes to your system. You would like to buy new servers. You would like to, but you can't necessarily afford the very best that there is to offer. Of course, many clients come to us and they essentially rent through managed servers that same method. They can get access to the very best equipment that runs the latest software, and not have to pay the capital price for it, which is a very good thing for small businesses, businesses of any size actually, that don't want to maintain much of a physical environment themselves and rather leave it to the experts, which we are.
How about let's say a business that wants to be in a vertical that has certain compliance requirements? How does Colo kind of provide that kind of a foundation for different types of compliance?
Within our world of data centers, we are operating at the highest compliance levels for CES 72, SSAE 16. We would like to, we know that there are HIPAA that we conform to. The most compliances that people would have in order to satisfy their financial requirements, they can get just by being with us. In other words, by association, they have all of those things already in place. Is there any more questions? Do we have outside questions?
So I guess there are no more questions.
If let's see, do I need to I want to try to sum up then. I guess that we have arrived at that spot. United Layer is a provider of not just co-location. That is sort of my expertise within this company. I bring to it a lot of electrical and cooling expertise in a mechanical sense, and that's obviously a very good foundation for a data center business. But it's really what you, the customer, want and need that we are attempting to do here. We do work for customers very strongly. We are here in many ways experts in both networking and in not just facilities management and network itself. We have a global reach as far as how we deal with the various internets, and we have in-house experience in cloud provisioning and in managed servers and services, and we can design for you a great number of solutions to any of the various problems that you may come up with, or any of the solutions that you really need. We certainly have come across on a lot of them. We notice that businesses that come to us tend to succeed. I think that that's an important note. These are businesses in a rough world as far as financials are concerned. It's a very high success rate, and for an enterprise. We believe in it, and we hope that you will come to visit us. We have you can contact any of our salespeople through our website. That, of course, is at www.unitedlayer.com. And you're certainly welcome to come to sales@unitedlayer.com for any more questions about what we have, and you can even ask for me directly. My name is Del Stortrum, and it's been nice talking to you.
For your